There we go.
Courtney, we are live.
Hey, we
Yes.
are live.
Hello, y'all.
Hello.
I am Sarah Badaman. I am the founder of Hippotract. And this is my beautiful friend, Courtney Harring.
I am her host today.
She is my friend who does literally everything. I don't even know how many businesses she runs at this point. She has a telehealth company, a credentialing company, a billing company. Like, she does Growth Academy with Shanae Moray. She does literally everything, right? And today on my very first LinkedIn, because I got LinkedIn Live last week, which I was so excited about, because like months and months of applications to even get LinkedIn Live. And then I was, yes, like literally, y'all, I like applied once a week for probably a year and a half. It was crazy. But got the notification and I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to actually be on vacation, Courtney. Yes. Like, and I want to go live. So we thought it would be a great opportunity actually to talk about the need to take a break.
Yeah.
Because this is my first vacation in 5 years. 5 years I've been working 7 days a week, probably close to 100 hours a week. And I was like mentally exhausted. I had such like what I call the overworked brain fog that I think so many of us get. And it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or you're working in a hospital somewhere. Exactly. We all know this overworked brain fog that we get into, and we get into a rut. And when you work for somebody else, you feel like it's time to move companies because you feel completely stuck.
Right.
When maybe it's just time for a break.
Correct.
You know, and a lot of entrepreneurs give up because they're burned out.
Right.
But
so we all have to know the difference between, right, the break, the burnout, and I don't want to do this anymore, right? Because a lot of times, just like what you said, people don't realize they need just a break. It's not that you don't love it anymore. It's that you need that mental time of nothing. That's what I'm going to call it.
Of nothing.
Of nothing.
Of nothing. And it's super important, not just to help avoid the burnout situation that we all have, but when you're constantly going and doing task after task after task, one of the things that you don't have time for is to eliminate that brain fog in order to think about the bigger picture,
right?
In order to create your strategies, in order to be able to be more creative. Like, you really need that time just to stop,
right?
Where you don't have to do anything. Because I've had so many good ideas over the past couple of days.
Absolutely.
Like on things that would actually really help Hippotract, but I would have never gotten had I not taken this break.
And we did bring our children, just so you know. So it's not like we're just like living the freedom here.
No.
We did actually bring our kids. We made sure that we booked a place that was conducive for our whole family. So that's, very important as well. Because I believe that when you take a break, you shouldn't just take a break from work, right? You should also make time to spend time with loved ones, because both of us don't spend that much time with all of our loved ones.
Yeah, really not. So I have 4 kids, y'all. Like, 2 are grown, but 2 are still small, 15 and 12. I mean, not small, but young. And this is probably the most time I've spent with them in 4 years, where I've had time to devote to them. And I'm actually really proud. I have left my 15-year-old mostly alone.
Yes.
We haven't fought one time on this vacation.
Yes.
And we only got, my 12-year-old and I only got into one small little disagreement.
Right, which is normal.
But we resolved it. We resolved it. And that's it. So we're not like all up in each other's space, which is also pretty cool.
Right.
So yeah, I'm very excited about this break. And we're about to go and meet Erin McLean again.
Yes.
Love
and
Erin.
She is wonderful.
Yes.
She is
comply and stride.
Yes. And all about doing the work, everyone.
Yes.
Doing the work on yourself as well as your business.
Yes. So. And I have to say a huge shout out to Erin, because if it hadn't been for Erin McLean, who we love, we would not be here.
No, we would not be.
It was
Actually.
Erin pushing us and her mindfulness, which is her whole strategy behind. We are watching you, Erin. We're talking about you, Erin.
We're talking about you.
But it's her whole strategy behind mindfulness and compliance, that she actually implements in her real life.
Right.
And that's why we are here taking that mindfulness approach to even taking a break.
Absolutely.
And being cognizant of when we're working and when we're actually breaking. So we're so happy that Erin and Monica are joining us. We love them. Had so much fun yesterday on a sailboat.
Yeah.
And found out that Erin is like a rated sailboat racer.
Correct.
Which, I mean, how much more of a badass can you get than that woman?
I have no idea. And also makes purses with the sails.
I
for
know.
Family and friends. Come on.
Come
on.
I mean, attorney, healthcare consultant.
I can't. And mindfulness.
Sailor, mindfulness. Yeah. If y'all do not know who Erin McLean is, she just commented. Follow her immediately.
Correct.
She is the bomb. Love, love, love Erin. And since she's watching, happy birthday, Erin! Because that's also another reason why we're all here on this break is to celebrate Erin and I think her 25th birthday.
Yes.
We're going to just say that.
We're going to say her 25th birthday. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice. So if y'all have any questions or comments, please feel free to let us know. We are more than happy to take them. I was just told to bring my CTO and business partner, Ed Camp, a souvenir. You got it, Ed. I love you so much. And thank you so much for holding down the fort there at Hippotract so that we can take this lovely break. Ed is amazing. So I have actually a really funny story about Ed. So because I know he's listening and I love to talk about people when I know I'm not talking about them behind their back. When I first founded Hippotract, I did it all by myself, and I taught myself how to code on codeacademy.org because in all my lovely arrogance, I thought, how hard can coding be? Y'all, it's hard. And I founded Hippotract, coded up the first iteration of the software, launched it to a handful of clinics in St. Louis, and it failed, right? Because I had no idea how to segment databases. I had no idea how to even write code. And so Dr. Sanjay Bhatt actually introduced Ed and I together, and Ed took over the development of all the software for Hippotract.
Thank God.
But I know, thank God.
Thank you.
But when he first took over, he didn't think to block all my access, like write access to the code. And so I continued to code thinking I was helping. It wasn't helping. And it was after one late night when Ed's daughter was still very, very young, and him yelling at the team of developers that he had brought on for messing everything up. And he realized it was me because I told him, no, I was helping to debug everything. And he was like, no. And so then the next evening I tried to get in to continue to debug, and I no longer had access to the code. Ed was like, no.
Yeah.
And he was like, you need to understand what is your lane and what is my lane, and that is not your lane.
Correct.
Still to this day, y'all, 6 years later, I still have read-only access to the code because Ed doesn't trust me with the ability to write code.
Right.
So, but thank you, Ed, because Hippotract would actually not be here today if it wasn't for him removing that access to code.
Yes. Good work, Ed. I'm glad that you saw that.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and he tolerates me on an everyday basis. So, yeah, we love Ed Camp.
Oh my goodness. Does anyone have any questions or whatnot? Obviously, Sarah is into, compliance. I am in the healthcare world. I'm her host today, even though I don't think I'm running the live right now.
Because you don't have LinkedIn Live yet, but we're gonna get Courtney LinkedIn Live next, y'all. Yes,
it's
time. It's time, LinkedIn.
So what Sarah has helped me with and my clients, right, is she has Hippotract, right, which is a compliance software. So if any of you out there are definitely, new businesses that are going to start your own private practice or whatever, if you are touching patients, this is something that you need. You need to make sure that your compliance is under control. If it is not, there are significant issues that can possibly happen, like fines that are detrimental. So unless you want millions of dollars of fines,
That's true.
that possibly millions of dollars of fines, you really should invest in Hippotract, which is a compliance software.
Right. And we don't help just new clinics either. We work with hospitals.
Mhm.
We work with urgent cares. We work with, if you need to be HIPAA compliant, we work with you. And what's really cool though is if you are needing consulting help on your compliance, we can actually loop in Erin from Compliance Stride, who it is her birthday today. So yes, we can loop her in and she can actually help you create all of your policies for you. And then if you need help with your credentialing and billing, that's where my lovely friend Courtney comes into play, where we can help with that process as well. So, and that helps you take a break from your compliance journey while we kind of take over and automate the entire process for you. Between what Erin, Courtney, and I do, we can give you that break and help tie everything in.
Erin.
What did Erin say? And Hippotract is a really great place to organize policies, procedures, documents, forms, and employee training. That is true. And also, y'all, don't let our name fool you. You can manage all of your compliance on Hippotract, not just your HIPAA compliance.
Exactly.
It's just, I'm one of those weirdos and I love HIPAA.
She does love HIPAA,
I love HIPAA.
which is very rare. But we all have to love it, right? It's something
you have
that
to
we
do
have
it.
to follow.
Yeah, you have to do it, right?
Something that we have to follow. So one thing I love when we were talking, like even like on Clubhouse or different platforms about, just HIPAA, period, right? So I want you to explain one known fact that people have issues with, and I'll tell you like kind of what people are doing. So a lot of times I see practices and I ask for their HIPAA compliance binder, whatever they have, and it's all about the HIPAA regulation.
Yes.
So this is probably going to be mind-blowing to all of you. We used to be a social worker, and when I went in for training, it was on the HIPAA regulation, which is interesting. That's also wonderful to know. But Sarah, I think, is going to give you some amazing information that will probably blow your mind, and also Hippotract will be necessary for you to succeed.
Right. So none of your compliance programs, especially HIPAA, is cookie cutter, right? You cannot take somebody else's policies and say these are your policies. You have to customize those to you. And then HIPAA says you have to actually train your employees on your policies and procedures, not just a basic HIPAA 101. Right. And this is one of the biggest things that we see. And this is also like nobody wants to take HIPAA seriously because they get the same boring training year over year over year over year. It is so mundane, y'all, that they don't care. Nothing's changing. Nothing seems to relate to what their job is. And so they don't take it seriously. And that actually leaves your organization extremely vulnerable. Like you have to make sure that your compliance program is tailored to you. It needs to not be that cookie cutter approach, but you need to actually decorate those cookies to be exactly how y'all are handling privacy and security. It's not a one size fits all. And you also can't have the approach of status quo is the way to go, right? So just because it's worked for you in the past does not mean that that's going to work for you like continuously. And so you need to evaluate your compliance programs. You need to evaluate the efficacy of your training, which my good friend Pardiv Shah, I don't know if he's listening right now or not, or maybe he'll comment later, but that is one of his biggest things is like, how are you testing the efficacy of your training? How effective is your training program? Because otherwise you're wasting your resources, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your employees' time, and you're wasting your effort on creating these training programs if you don't have a way to measure whether or not they are effective in what your goal for that training is. which means if you're testing for the efficacy of your training programs, that means you're not treating your HIPAA compliance like a checkbox, right?
Correct.
You can't say, check, I've trained all my employees on HIPAA training. It needs to be, what are my compliance and security goals for this quarter, this year, however, whatever time frame you're looking at, and say, what are my KPIs for how I'm going to measure whether or not that training program was successful, right? So when we look at like phishing training, which is a huge issue right now in healthcare because of ransomware,
Huge.
right? One way to measure the efficacy of your phishing training is to send out simulated phishing, right? So then you do the simulated phishing training, and then you can see how effective have your other training efforts been to warn your staff about what a phishing campaign looks like, because you actually run on them.
Right.
And y'all will be so surprised if you run a simulated phishing test to see that it is a lot of times your senior level folks that fall for the phishing simulations and not the folks that you think it's going to be. And sometimes it's y'all's IT folks that fall for those phishing simulations. So make sure that you're running those, and then you can actually say this training was effective and therefore we're going to continue this training, right? So you have to make sure that your compliance program has a purpose, and it's not just that checkbox, because checkboxes and lists is not a purpose, right? So just like you need a purpose in life and you need a purpose for doing things, and in your profession, you have to have a purpose for what you're doing. Your training and your compliance programs must have a purpose.
Correct.
Now then, you can automate a lot of those purposes, and that is the key. Correct. Automate those purposes.
Correct. And even when you have a compliance officer that's dedicated, right? They are not, an automated simulator or computer, right? So you can still have that compliance person, but also you should really have a software that, obviously Sarah's does. It tracks employee training and organizes policies and procedures, documents, forms, all of that in one system, so that if anything were to happen, right, you give access to Hippotract and everything is there.
I love it. Right, so because it was actually founded out of my own frustration, and Cheryl Larson, who actually just joined the Hippotract team not too long ago, was the director of operations at a large FQHC, and we work with a lot of FQHCs across the country. And she was like, oh my God, I wish that I had something like this when I was the director of operations at my FQHC. And I was like, Cheryl, that's exactly why I founded Hippotract, because when I was an administrator at the nephrology clinic or when I worked at the hospital, these were the issues that I was experiencing. It was so hard to manage because I recognized that compliance was a journey and I didn't have a tool, and everything I looked at just seemed so basic, and it didn't really take into account that compliance is a journey, right? It was telling me, just do this 1 hour of employee training every year. And it's the same boring HIPAA 101 training that I had been receiving since 2005. And I was like, this is not going to work. And so no other program was like that. And we're the only software that was built by a healthcare professional.
Stop.
I know. And Ed is a healthcare professional, 18 years in healthcare IT. And Bethany was a healthcare professional, 2 years as a practice in a healthcare practice as a receptionist.
That is interesting.
And Cheryl Stevens actually wrote the emergency preparedness plan for the state of Minnesota. Cheryl Larson was the director of operations in healthcare. Yeah, so every single one of us came from healthcare.
That's interesting. And you would think, right, that these systems should be created by healthcare professionals.
Oh no, honey, no. Because what happened was people see a business opportunity and they go after it. And I really think that you should do what you know.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is why you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Erin McLean is doing what she's doing, even though she's not here with us live. She's here with us live, in the chat while she's sitting on the beach. And we're about to go and join her. So, but you have to do what you know as well as what you love. Yeah. Right. And I think that is the key.
That is the key. And then, as she's talking, you can see the passion, right, in her voice in the way, that her mannerisms, all of that good stuff. So that's also really important when you're looking for, any type of service, right? You want to know that the founder is really vested in whatever they are doing. And this here is compliance, right? So always look at that. That's a good thing to be happening.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Courtney. So thank you for being here in Florida with me.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Thank you for being on my first live. And thank you to everybody who joined me or is going to watch this on the replay. We will be back live. I think we're going to do this every Monday at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, noon Mountain. Yeah, and we'll just keep the live conversation going, y'all. And I promise we'll figure this out and we'll get better every week.
Every week
do this.
We'll get better. Yes, and I'll be crashing hers as much as possible.
Yes, and I know she will. All right, thank you, everybody. I know, and now I don't know how to end the live, which is going to be super fun, y'all. So this is as much a test of how we do this. Because we're still live right now. This is hilarious, and everybody's going to laugh at me because I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, in stream. There we go. All right, now for real, y'all. Bye. Bye. That was so fun. I wonder how many people.